welcome back, guys. So I have encountered my first issue of 2024. My drum filter's packed in. So as you know, I run the FILTREAU Drum filter. I've had it just over a couple of years now, and so far up to now it's been faultless. But I've come home from work today and it's just doing nothing. It's not washing and the drum isn't turning. So I'm gonna have to spend a little bit of time now trying to find out what the issue may be, because at this moment in time I'm a little bit confused, simply for the fact that everything connects into the control box. And when I say everything, I mean the actual pump for the pond, the amalgam light for the drum motor and the wash pump. All four of those connect into the control box. But as you can see, the amalgam light is still working and the pump for the pond is still working. The only thing that's not working is the motor for the drum itself and the wash pump for the spray bar. So because of that, I'm not necessarily putting it down to a motor failure or a wash pump failure, because it's highly unlikely that both of those would go at the same time. So I don't think it's the wash pump and the drum motor that's gone. I think it's probably something to do with the control box. Now, depending on how it's wired in there, I haven't took it apart to have a look yet. I'm not quite sure whether there's one PCB, two PCBs that control the drum motor and the wash pump, and then another PCB that controls the amalgam and the pond pump. I'm not sure, so I'm gonna have to have a look at that. So yeah, I don't know whether it's going to be the control box that's failed and whether the amalgam and the pond pump run separately through it. I don't know. I'm gonna have to strip it down and have a look. If I press the button to do a manual wash, that does absolutely nothing. The float switch, if I push this down, that does absolutely nothing. So that's not activating anything. Now I'll have to have a look at the float switch, test the polarity through that just to make sure that that's operating properly. If it is, then I'm thinking it's got to be something to do with that control box. So I'm going to get off now. I'm going to grab my multimeter, and we'll see what's happening with this chuffing thing. Right then, guys, so I've just disconnected the wiring for the float switch. So the float switch literally just connects together with these two. This one goes into the control box, and this one is, well, it's just attached to the float switch down there, and they just line up with those pins there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my multimeter in there, activate the float switch, and see if we've got resistance through it. If not, then that tells us that there's a problem with float switch that possibly might be causing an issue. I don't know. So I'm going to get my multimeter on it now and we'll have a look. Right, so it's a little bit fiddly trying to do this one-handed, but if I stick that in there, right, so we've got resistance there. So what I shall do, if I can keep them, right, so they're touching, so that's telling us that the float switch is open. So if I put this down now, if that activates, it means that this float switch is working okay. So as I'm pushing that up and down, it's breaking the contact with the float switch. So that means that that float is working absolutely fine. There's no problem with that whatsoever. So I shall put that back together and we shall move on to having a look inside the control box. Right, so that's the front of the control box open, guys. I've isolated my drum from the mains just on this breaker, and this is what we've got inside. It's quite a maze of wires inside. Looks as though we've just got one PCB unit. It tells us on the board what all of the wires feed. So the top 4 wires up here for the button, so button LED, and then I'm presuming other 2 wires are as switch lives. Live, neutral, earth at top. They are the power out for the pump. Which pump that is? That will be the wash pump by the looks of it. The ones directly below are the power outs for the motor. These 2 are for, what does that say? It's bloody very tight inside there.
That's what she said.
Can't see what that says. Live, neutral and earth at bottom, that's those. The red, yellow and the black. Oh no, not sorry, those are the float switch. So we've got as common, we've got as high switch, and we've got as low switch. The high and low switch, the top float is for when the water level drops and it kicks in to activate the drum motor and the wash pump, and then the bottom float is for if the water level was to drop too low. It's a safety cutoff feature where it activates that switch and shuts the whole system off altogether. Now I know that's not faulty because, well, we've just tested the flow on the, I think that was the top switch that I tested, but if that was faulty then nothing would be running, the pump, the amalgam, nothing, because it cuts everything off. So we ain't got a problem with that. If we just have another look inside here, we have got bloody maze of wires. That's what, motor and pump by the looks of it. I'm not sure what. Oh. Right, I'm gonna have to put you guys down for a bit because I need to get my head stuck into that and have a look, and I can't do it one-handed. It's quite tricky. And I think also I'm going to drop someone a message to see if they can come up with any suggestions for me, and I'll come back to you. Right, we're back, guys. So I've just sent a message. I've just been speaking to Chris at Kitsu Koi, asking for a bit of advice because I know Chris runs a few FILTREAUs in shop. If you've not been up to Kitsu, by the way, guys, go up and check it out. It's a lovely place, not too far from me, only 20 minutes up road, next junction at M1 away from me. But anyway, Chris has suggested to try checking the fuses, which I should have thought on really. The fuses either side at the bottom, there's 2 fuses at the bottom of the control box. Yeah, so if I spin round, so down bottom here we've got a fuse cover that side, and then there's a fuse, see this here, on this side. So there's 2 fuses. Now following the wires from this side, they go to what looks like these here. And if I take that top wire off there, you'll see that those wires there, or that fuse, is for the motor and the wash pump. So I'm going to check that fuse first to see if that's what's causing us issue. So I shall just bang that back on a minute. Bang that back on there. Oh. And then shift that out of the way a minute. Let's take these plugs out just to make access a little easier to the fuse. They just unscrew these, the only screw in fuse holders. And you just pull out. Right, so this is, I'll take that fuse out of there. It is a fast blow fuse, 5 amp. Ignore my nails, I know they're filthy. I'm a workman. Anyway, multimeter. Now if I put that onto his resistance setting, and then if we stick this either side of this fuse, this will tell us whether the wire inside the fuse has had it or not. So again, I'm sorry about my camera work, but this is very awkward to do one-handed. Right, so if you can hear that, that's working fine. So that, there's nothing wrong with that fuse. Well, that's a bit shitty. I'll kind of hoping it'd be that, because then I'd be able to just replace that fuse. So my arsehole's starting to twitch a bit now. I'm wondering whether I'm going to end up having to buy a new bleeding control board. Yeah, so I'm going to bang this back in, guys. I'm going to check fuse on the other side. I'm not quite sure what that one is yet. I haven't dove into it and had a look what that other fuse does, but I'm going to get this one back in and have a look. Right, so here's this other fuse, guys. I'm presuming this again, yeah, this is again a 5 amp fast blow fuse, and this is the fuse from the right hand side of the control box, and on the PCB board where the wires go to says it's the fuse, the 1000 watt fuse. So I'm presuming it's the fuse for the whole control box itself. So I'm presuming if this was to blow, then nothing on the control box would work, which gives me a slight indication that this fuse may be okay. But we've got his multimeter, so I'm going to check it again. Sorry if this camera work gets a bit dodgy, but when you're trying to do stuff one-handed. Alright, so if we touch these on here, right, again, so you can hear that fuse again is perfectly fine. So that's a bit of a ball ache, isn't it? That's a bit of a ball ache. So what does that mean? Does it mean my control box fucked? I hope not. I think these are the most expensive part to buy. I think they are. I don't know what else it could be. Yeah, so the fuse what goes in the right hand side down here, these wires, these go up to they go up and under it. Hang on a minute, there's another fuse in there. What's that fuse? There's another fuse in there, guys, on PCB board. I don't know if you can see it very well. Again, it's tight, but just there, look, just here. Right then, guys. So there's another fuse. There's another fuse on the control board, on the PCB board. So I'm going to get this one put back in from bottom on right hand side. I'll get that one put back in, and I'm going to get that fuse out and see what that one is, and see if that's what's causing the problem. So I'll snap back to you in a sec. Right, here we are, guys. This is the other fuse. Now this one, what I've noticed, this one is a timed fuse. So it's not a fast blow fuse, this one, it's a timed slow blow fuse. And it's only, I don't know whether you can see that. Let me turn this light off. Well, you're going to see it. Come on, focus. Focus. Right. It's only 50 milliamp, this fuse. 50 milliamp. I've never seen a glass fuse as low as that before. Anyway, let's test it and see if this is what's causing us problems. So again, I've got my multimeter on as resistance setting. So again, this should, if this has got resistance through it, again we should get a reading from the multimeter. Again, sorry about the camera work, it's difficult to do one-handed. Aha! So that is, they're touching, guys. They're touching, but I'm getting absolutely nothing from my multimeter. So that tells me that that is shagged. So that fuse is knackered, guys. Now, is it just that fuse that's causing me problem? Possibly, but to be able to fully identify if that's the overall problem, I'm going to have to get one of those fuses to put inside it to replace it, and then go from there and see if it fixes it. But I know I ain't got any of those glass fuses. I've never seen one as small as that 50 milliamp before. Plus, it's not a fast blow fuse; it's a timed fuse, so it's important to put the right fuse in. There's no point in putting a fast blow fuse in something that needs a timed fuse, because as soon as it kicks up, as soon as it feeds voltage through it that quick, it's probably just going to blow it. Whereas a timed fuse allows that initial surge of current to pass through it. Something like that. Anyway, I'm not fucking Sparky. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to wait until tomorrow, until I'm out and about at work, see if I can find any of those fuses from any of the electrical supplies what we use, and see if I can pick one up. If not, I'm gonna have to have a browse online and see if I can find any, which, if I can't get any tomorrow at work, it means that I'm not going to be able to leave my filter running, because the pond, it'll just empty itself, because screen will get blocked up, because it won't wash. Yeah, so they won't be filtered because screen will just get blocked up. So what I'm going to end up having to do is shut the filter off altogether, and if needs be, I'm going to have to leave the air running in the pond and just keep monitoring the water parameters to make sure there's no build-up of ammonia or anything like that. But anyway, I'm going to stop waffling for now. There's no point me going on about it. We know that that fuse is fucked. So when I'm out at work tomorrow, like I say, I'll have a look round, have a ring round, see if I can find out. And if not, I'll look like I'm going to look online, see if I can order something online. So for now, I shall snap back to you probably tomorrow. So see you in a bit.
The next day.
Right, welcome back, guys. So I've just finished work, and going on from yesterday, I've been ringing round suppliers, and nobody has got any of them fuses. Absolutely nobody. So I'm going to end up having to order some online. These guys, these have been all alright. I've just kept air running inside pond. So no pumps or anything are running like that. It's literally just still with no showers running, but there's no in it. Yeah, so they've just been running with air. Well, I'm gonna have to order or have a look online now, see what I can find. Some lights on in here. Have a look online, see what I can find. And go from there. Basically, it's a ball ache, innit? Right, I'll come back to you when I've got an update, guys, when I've got some fuses. Well, finally, guys, and 2 days later, and £12 odd later, most of that were for shipping. We have some fuses, 10 in a pack. I think fuses were about a £5, and rest on it were delivery. Unreal. Anyway, I'm not going to waste any time. I need to get this back up and running, so we'll see if that solves it for us. Fingers crossed, because I don't fancy paying out for a new control unit. I'm going to put you guys down and we'll do the big switch on together to see if it works, so I'll catch you in a minute. Alright, that new one's in there, guys. I'm just going to put front of that on there. I'm going to stick one screw in it, just in case. Get this in. Alright, so that's his new fuse in. Front of that's on. I need to do it before I turn it on. You can see that it's not running now. Our water levels has gone up, so we'll bang that on. Right then, moment of roof. Hey up, we had a light. We had a light on button then. Right, so his UV's on, there's pumps running, but we were doing that before. So we need to test whether the wash pump works and whether the motor turns. So if we press the moment of roof, there you go. Oh, dirty bastard. Right. Yeah. I forgot that it wets you through if you ain't got the lid on. Anyway, bonus. We're back in action. Buzzing. Absolutely buzzing that I'm not going to buy a new control unit. Yes. That saved me 240 quid. Because that would have been 240 quid don't drain out of my grow on build. So I'm buzzing about that. But anyway, guys, I'm going to get this put back together now, lid on. Yeah, so even though it's cost me £12 odd for a few fuses, including delivery, it means I ain't got to fork out 240 quid for that, so I'm happy. I'm happy. So if you have got a FILTREAU drum, guys, and you have a similar issue, check your fuses. 3 fuses on the FILTREAU drums, 2 either side at the bottom, 1 inside on the PCB board, so check all 3. The 2 fuses at the bottom are fast blow fuses, 5 amp. The one inside is a timed fuse or slow blow fuse, which is 50 milliamp. So if you do have a problem where it stops working, if it's just your wash pump and your motor that stops, then it'll be the fuse on the inside. If everything stops working, probably try the bottom fuse on the right hand side, because it looks as though that's the fuse for the whole control unit, and the fuse at the bottom is, what did I say that way? Can't remember. Anyway, I'm not bothered, it's working. Thank you very much to Chris at Kitsukoi for giving me his help and advice. Much appreciated, because he spoke to me out of hours and he didn't have to do that, so it was very kind of him. So again, Chris, if you do happen to see any of this, then thank you very much, pal. Right, I'm going to stop babbling now, guys. I'm going to get this put back together. Yeah, buzzing. See you in a bit, guys.